Привit! Yes, you read that right. They're now pitching Ukrainian women as war brides. Привit is Odessa Mami. Greetings from Odessa in Ukraine. It is day 142 of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And I have a very apt t-shirt, considering where I am, about a certain Russian battleship. But war brides, when I say that, I mean that basically Ukrainian women are desperately looking for a foreign man to save them from the war here in Ukraine. That is what I've seen online, both from the dodgy marriage agencies and from some pickup artists saying, you know, if you can meet them somewhere in Europe, then they will be so desperate for a Western guy that, they want to go and live with Bob from Idaho in his shack somewhere in the States, something as ridiculous as that. So in this video, I'm going to explain a little bit about how Ukrainian women can actually travel at the moment and move to other countries in the West, which is different. So there are some special regimes in place that actually make it easier to move. And actually the genesis for this video wasn't just those claims about war brides or women fleeing the war. It was actually that I had to help some clients who had girlfriends and fiancés who were Ukrainian and were here when the war started, and they needed to get them out. And also, my own girlfriend left for me when we evacuated on February 25th. So I have a fair idea about how lots of the rules work, and I also have a background as a lawyer. Anyways, let's get into the video. Поехали!
Tsar Experience.
So it's estimated that since this invasion began on the 24th of February, there are over 11 million displaced Ukrainians. Now, about half of those are actually displaced within Ukraine. They haven't left the country. They've just moved to another region or city. But the other half, which is over 5 million people, has left the country and are effectively refugees abroad. Now, I'm going to just give you a very brief outline of the different special regimes that have been introduced as a result in the main Western countries. And after that, then I'm going to explain exactly the chances of a Western man getting a Ukrainian war bride as a result of the war. So let's do the first one. So first up is Uncle Sam, the United States of America. There are two programs. The first one is Uniting for Ukraine, and there Ukrainian needs a sponsor, basically someone to guarantee them financially, and they can move to the US for 2 years once they get that visa. The other one is actually humanitarian parole. Now this exists in general. It's different to asylum law, which I'm not going to go into because that just applies to everybody across the world. They have to flee a war zone. But this is something that exists already, but has been used by a lot of Ukrainians, I'm told, and that basically means you can go without a sponsor, so a Ukrainian can show up on the border. You might have seen that on the Mexican border, for example, that they can go and they can stay for temporary stay, basically, you get if you are accepted as a humanitarian parole, but you don't need a sponsor. That's the big difference. So next country, let's pick the United Kingdom. So the United Kingdom also has, it's a little bit similar, it has two ways to come. First one is the Ukrainian family scheme. Second one is the Ukrainian sponsorship scheme. So family scheme is if you have a family member already living in the United Kingdom, then they can organize that for you to get a visa to come over. I have a friend who's actually done that because his daughter is Ukrainian, and he organized for the mother of the child and for his daughter to come over to the United Kingdom. The other one is the sponsorship scheme. That's when, well, basically you are Ukrainian, don't have a family member, so then you get a sponsor and you go and live with that sponsor, that host basically, in the United Kingdom, and you basically get to stay for up to 3 years, if that's the case. So next one I'm actually going to just read out because it's Canada. It's called the Canada-Ukraine Authorization for Emergency Travel, or CUAET. And that means that a Ukrainian can just apply for a visitor visa and be allowed to stay in Canada for up to 3 years, as opposed to a standard 6-month authorized visa. So you don't need a sponsor if you're a Ukrainian woman and you want to go to Canada at the moment, so that's pretty attractive. What other countries? Let's just go quickly to Australia and to New Zealand, because basically they don't have any special program unless in New Zealand it is for a family reunion for New Zealand citizens who are actually from Ukraine. So that's going to be a very limited category of people. And then the Australians, basically, just that apparently they've been processing visas quicker than normal for Ukrainians because of the situation, but there is no special program. So I'm going to get to the biggest and most important, because this is actually what most of the Ukrainian women who have left have used, and that is the Temporary Protection Directive of the European Union. They've actually gone into the European Union. Basically, if you wanted to leave Ukraine over land, since the war began, because there are no flights, and taking a boat obviously is a non-starter at the moment, out of here, then you are not going to go to Russia, you're not going to go to Belarus. Almost no one went to Belarus. Most of the 5 million people went to the European Union, and they went to countries like Romania, Hungary, and Poland first, and then maybe they moved on, and they are allowed to stay 1 year provisionally under the Temporary Protection Directive. It's actually a directive that was created by the European Union after the Balkans Wars in the 1990s, but this is the first time it's ever been activated. So what happens there is that basically any Ukrainian who comes into the European Union, they normally have visa-free for Schengen, which is almost all of the European Union. Ireland, for example, which is not in Schengen, the day after the war started, they actually said that Ukrainians could come without visas anyways. So they don't have a problem actually coming, and then they can pick a country in the European Union and they can stay for up to 1 year. And they can do everything they want, they can work, and basically can live as more or less an EU citizen, even though Ukraine is not in the European Union. So, think about it. Ukrainian passport is actually, at the moment, probably more valuable than an American passport.
Bruh.
So what does that mean for all the wife hunters and the guys thinking they're getting a war bride because they're Bob from Idaho or Travis from Tennessee? I just kind of picking these random states in the US, who thinks that, the Ukrainian women are desperate to marry him to come live in America. It's not so clear, is it, when you see what they have as ways to leave Ukraine that are special regimes at the moment in those Western countries. So what can I say to those guys who wrote me asking me, Conor, can I still get a Ukrainian bride? Actually, most of them didn't address me by my name. They just said, hey, can I still get a Ukrainian bride? I'm American. Well, first of all, I did a previous podcast about the death, basically, of the mail order bride industry here in Ukraine. I'll link it up above in the card down below in the description. So, since February 24th, what have those dodgy marriage agencies and romance tours actually done? Well, most of them have done one of two things. They are now pitching having a virtual Ukrainian bride. Yes, you can come online and talk to Ukrainian women via Zoom. Yes, you can really have a virtual online girlfriend or wife, as ridiculous as that sounds. That's basically what they're pitching, is basically something that, I don't know. For me, you could do this by just going on to any sort of dating site. I don't see why you would pay to be on that, but fine, that's one of the things that they've done. And the other one is that they have actually just focused on other regions. Now they're pitching a lot Colombian and Filipino women, and also some of them are making really bad attempts to try and outsource their marketing within the region, and talking about Moldovan and Polish women all of a sudden, which is just kind of odd because they pumped so much money in the last 2 decades into this myth of the Stepford wife from Ukraine, the woman who looks like a supermodel but just wants to cook and clean, bake those cookies all day and clean the house. But they were never really, let's be frank about it, interested in the average American guy to start with. But Conor, you might be saying, but surely if it's easier for them to travel, right? Since I helped clients actually get their girlfriends and fiancés and daughter to the West, surely that makes it even more attractive. Well, these marriage agencies, they were never really based on a high level of success. Yes, very few people who they were ever had as paying clients ever got married to Ukrainian women. I would be surprised if it's even over 1% of clients. I would think that would be a massive stretch. And because that's not what it's based on basically two different models. One is the romance tours, which means getting the guys all to come over here and go on a series of dates, so basically pay to have dates. Most of the women, or definitely significant women, are not genuinely interested in meeting them. They may have been financially induced to go on the date with them, or they are actually just doing an online scam, which is called a letter writing scam. I have lots of videos on my channel about this. I'll link a few of them up above in cards down below in the description, where basically they string the guy along and he's paying per communication, like a letter or chat. And one guy even ran a bill like of $300,000. Yes, that is possible. So that is basically what their model is based on. And then finally, I'll add that, think about it, if the kind of main arbitrage that these guys are trying to pitch themselves on, who go to kind of the marriage agency to find the war bride, as I've seen, pitched by these dodgy online marriage agencies, that the women are all desperate to leave because they have no options. If they can just go to my home country, Ireland, which I actually just came from, they could just move there, and basically the Irish government thankfully has set up a lot of assistance for Ukrainians, and they can go with their kids and basically relocate to Ireland and stay. Provision for them will probably be extended up to 3 years eventually, and yeah, they don't have to worry financially. So why would they want to necessarily meet some random guy online? Not going to be very many takers on that, are there, in reality? And in sum, the idea of a war bride is pretty much a fantasy, I would say. The war is horrific. Tens of thousands of people have been killed, cities have been destroyed, but people do have other options than looking for a foreign husband if they are a Ukrainian woman. Thankfully for them, and unfortunately for you wannabe wife hunters who are hoping to take advantage of the situation, probably it's going to be you that gets taken advantage of by an online scammer marriage agency. So I just have a air raid siren there. Hopefully I don't get blown up in a Russian terrorist attack here on Odessa, Mama. But before I go, if you do want more bespoke advice about what to do this summer in terms of what's going on here in Ukraine, obviously the war is real, but where else in Europe you can go. Have been bringing clients to neighboring Moldova, where obviously we don't have this situation, and there we go out and we have an absolutely amazing weekend. You got down below, you have the links to my consulting and also how to live the Zara experience. I'll link a video up above to the last time that I did the Zara experience here in Ukraine, in Kharkiv. You can go and take a look and know what is involved in the Zara experience there. And I will see you in the very next video. Slava Ukraini! Героям слава! До побачення з Одеси, Мама.
Zara Experience.